Hi everyone, and welcome to Daily Revelations. This is a weekly Bible study where we dive into God's Word one book at a time. We are in the book of Genesis, and this week we're focusing on Genesis 14. And what we do every day of the week is we use a different precept method to dig into God's Word and to pray and to just ask God to speak into our lives and to change us from the inside out using His truth. And so the precept method that we use on day 3, because this is day 3 of our study now in Genesis 14, is that we read again through this chapter and just ask God to pop up a verse or part of a verse that we can then follow a cross-reference for and see where else in the Bible we can learn about this truth. And so I just encourage you to do the same thing that I did. And it may not be the same place that God led me, where He leads you. Actually, it probably won't be. But the cross-reference verse that I started out with in Genesis 14 was verse 18, just the beginning of it. And it talks about Melchizedek, the king of Salem, the priest of the Most High God. And if you cross-reference just that, you see that in Hebrews 7, Melchizedek is again referenced, king of Salem. And it says that his name translates into the king of righteousness and the king of peace. And it points out too that Abram, when he had finished conquering these kings and taking the spoils, that 10% of what he brought back, he gave to this priest, this appointed person by God who had no lineage that got him there. It was just somebody that God appointed. And Abram, at that point, he's not Abraham yet. God hasn't changed his name in Genesis yet. But what he does is to honor God, is he honors the person that God has appointed to be his representative. And it made me, as I was writing my notes, think about, what do I do to honor those that God has appointed? You know, we have our pastors, we have certain leaders in both the church and in just people around us that God appoints to leadership positions. And what do we do to honor those people and to share from what God has given us, the spoils of our work or just what we do? And so I thought, that the King of righteousness, the King of peace, and how much is our peace wrapped around the things that we own? And this open hand, this freely giving of what we have, allows us step by step to start releasing that and not holding on so tight to what we've been given. And it frees us up. It gives us more peace. And so as I was thinking about that, from both sides, we can say, who is this person that God appointed? Why did He appoint them? And yet, God tells us, my ways are not your ways. I'm not going to even explain to you why I've appointed this person. We are called to honor that person and to honor their position and to give freely. Also, on the flip side of that, when we are put in places of honor, we are not to question that either, and allow God to use us, not for our own benefit, but for the benefit of others, and then to use the resources that we've been given to bring God honor, not ourselves. And it made me start thinking about things. I've got a board meeting coming up next week, and just how my nonprofit should be taking that 10%, now that we are actually bringing in donations and sponsorships, to give back and to take that 10% and to give it to other organizations or those that God appoints, that He just lays that burden on our hearts to share what He has given us. It's an ongoing journey, definitely, of learning and trusting in God and allowing Him to use us in places of honor and in turn honoring others that He has appointed. And so that's just my takeaway today. I don't know what your takeaway will be from Genesis 14, but I just encourage you to dive into God's Word, use this precept method, and to see what God has to say to you. And I will see you next time right here on Daily Revelations.